my colleagues, Mr. Nominee, my lords that are here, I would like to take it from where Senator Osita stopped. Mr. Chairman made reference to your CV, 31-paged CV, very rich, clearly very experienced. And I'm afraid what Senator Onaso said is why I want to ask you one or two questions, that you are a very, very experienced and well-respected jurist. And it is about the workload in the Supreme Court. What, in your view, is the best way to address that challenge? Is it by limiting some matters to Court of Appeal, that the Court of Appeal should be the final court of to adjudicate on such matters, or is it by creating more vacant seats on the Supreme Court bench, or is it by creating even regional Court of Appeals and regional Supreme Courts? What's your view, my lord? Thank you.
Noted. But the only thing I want to add, Mr. Chairman, is that if you look at his resume, we don't even need to ask any question at all, because this nominee is eminently qualified from his resume. But we still have to enrich our jurisprudence if we hear from you in some of the questions that will follow after my own. Thank you.
You must introduce yourself, but it's okay. So what I will do, like I said, time is spent, is to ask if any of my colleagues has questions for you, and then we can go to that. So we've had you, no problem. So Senator Izunazo, please proceed.
My distinguished colleagues, well, I have to start with what I would consider process of this nomination, this appointment. We have here the minutes of NJC document in respect of how this appointment was made. Mr. Chairman, you will agree with me that this is novel, because you have seen the process. It is not as if the justice was handpicked, but there's a process before he emerged. So congratulations. Right now, before the National Assembly, we have two executive bills. One, to increase the number of High Court judges. The second one, to increase the number of Court of Appeal justices. Federal High Court judges and the Court of Appeal justices. I have a bill for increment of Supreme Court justices to 30, from the current 21 to 30. That bill is right now before the National Assembly Committee on Constitutional Review. What will be your take, my lord? Because you have a long way to stay in the Supreme Court. If you are cleared by the special grace of God, you have about 10 years to spend in the Supreme Court. What will be your take about the congesting the cases that goes to Supreme Court, vis-a-vis the appointment of 30 justices of the Supreme Court? Thank you.
I was actually meant to call the Senate leader first, but he was engaged and I didn't want to. So rather than you answer the question of Senator Izunazo, you will have to wait and answer the question of the Senate leader.
Never appear before Senator Justice Oyewole. I don't ever pray to do so. However, I can attest to his prodigious intellect, his industry, his ability to decipher truth from falsehood and to match evidence and law. I therefore have no hesitation whatsoever in supporting his nomination. My question, however, is this. If you go through his very rich resume, he's a member of the Court of Appeal ICT Committee from 2024 till date. He has attended workshops for judges on legal issues in telecommunications. He has delivered a seminar paper on admissibility of electronic computer-generated. Now I speak as the chairman of the Senate Committee on ICT and Cyber Security. Technology is upon us, and it's not a matter of choice. Whether we like it or not, either you have to adjudicate on technology-related issues, particularly in the areas of artificial intelligence, or you also need to deploy technology to arrive at your conclusions. Having been a member of the Court of Appeal Seat Committee, having attended seminars on telecommunications, having delivered a seminar paper on admissibility of computer-generated evidence. In a matter of few weeks, the Senate will pass a bill on national digital economy and e-government bill that will mandate government agencies to digitize their operations. Now, as a member of the most senior bench in the country, how much of technology should we expect with your now being in the Supreme Court?
My Lord, you may now briefly respond to the questions. Thank you.
I would say I'm the most honored. My Lord is my brother from the same hometown. So, but having said this, Mr. Chairman, I would have not say one word because the leader has spoken, but at the same time, I want to create your permission and the members of the committee. Our elder statesman, Chief Adebisi Akonde, our national leader of the great party, asked me to, on his behalf, to say a few words, few statements. Please, can you permit me? Thank you. Dear Chairman, respected members of the committee, I'm pleased to express my full support for the screening of Justice Oyewole to the Supreme Court of Nigeria. As a district son of Ilan and a respected member of the bench, Justice Oyewole nomination is a statement to his exceptional service, dedication, and to justice, whose life and career has continually embodied the highest ideals of integrity, diligence, and service. His illustrious career and commitment upholding the rule of law make him an outstanding candidate for this esteemed position. I believe this contribution will further strengthen the Supreme Court and the judiciary as a whole. Over the years, he has described himself as incorruptible and uncompromising jurist, serving the uncommon courage, clarity of conscience in Lagos State High Court and the Federal Court of Appeal across several states of Nigeria. In every assignment instructed on him, he upheld the rule of law with fear of favor, earning respect across the legal profession and beyond. His judicial journey has been marked by sound judgment, intellectual depth, and unwavering commitment to justice. He has demonstrated that the law is not mere for operational but sacred trust, one that must exercise with humility, fairness, and moral courage. I urge this esteemed committee, the Senate, to support his confirmation, recognizing his contribution to judiciary and his commitment to serving the people of Nigeria. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Senator Fadi. Dismissed Senator Nwoye.
Well, distinguished Chairman and Leonard Silk, distinguished colleagues, Your Excellencies and colleagues, my lords, let me just say that the nominee identified me, and let me just stand by that as an introduction for now. And the only reason I'm here is just to briefly show my face, and say one or two things and take my leave so that the committee can continue. But that would be after I would have heard from the nominee himself. Thank you, distinguished Chairman.
Thank you very much.
My name is Olubi Ifade Ajagunla Odua, representing the Osun Central District from Ilan. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
26, deliberated on Mr. President's request for the confirmation of the nomination of Honorable Justice Joseph Olubunmi Kayode Oyewole JCA for appointment as Justice of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. The Senate, in its wisdom, referred the request to this committee for further legislative action and mandated it to report back with its decision on the confirmation. For the avoidance of doubt, that this appointment was made to fill the vacancy created by the retirement of Honorable Justice Olukayode Oyewole, GCON, former Chief Justice of the Federation, who retired from judicial service on 22nd August 2024 upon attaining the age of 70 years and in compliance with the provisions of Section 291, subsection 1 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Accordingly, Honorable Justice Joseph Olubunmi Oyewole, JCA, has been nominated by Mr. President in line with the provisions of Section 23, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which provides thus: the appointment of a person to the office of the Justice of the Supreme Court shall be made by the President on the recommendation of the National Judicial Council, subject to the confirmation of such nomination by the Senate. Consequently, we are here today to carry out the above-mentioned constitutional responsibility by screening the nominee and reporting back our recommendation to the Senate. We are indeed delighted by the prompt response of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, in making this appointment to fill the vacancy at the Apex Court. Certainly, this is a timely action that not only upholds the Constitution by maintaining the court's full complement, but also strengthens judicial continuity and reinforces respect for constitutional governance. No doubt, maintaining the full complement of the court will enhance the efficient administration of justice and reduce delays in the adjudication of matters before the Apex Court. We equally commend the current administration for its efforts to improve the welfare of the judiciary, a step that strengthens judicial independence and ensures effective justice delivery. To this end, much is expected of judicial officers by the citizens, given their critical role as impartial arbiters and guardians of justice. It is therefore essential that they are adequately supported to meet these high expectations with integrity and independence. On this note, it is now my honor and privilege to invite the Senior Special Assistant of the President on National Assembly Matters, distinguished Senator Lado, to formally present the nominee to the committee and for the committee to now speak regarding himself and his credentials. Thank you and God bless.
I represent Benue Northeast.
Okay.
Committee. May I proceed, sir?
Continue.
Yes, I was born on 13th May 1965 in Ilorin-Ogun, the ancient city of Ilorin-Ogun, Osun State. And after my primary education, I attended St. Charles Grammar School, Osogbo, finished in 1981, proceeded to the then University of Ife, where I had an LLB and finished in 1985, proceeded to Nigerian Law School, and I was called to Nigerian Bar in 1986. I did my NYSC in Benue State, 1986-87, and thereafter returned to Lagos, and I was in private legal practice until the year 2001, when I was appointed Judge of the High Court of Lagos State. I served in that capacity till March 2014, when I was elevated to the Court of Appeal, and I've been in the Court of Appeal until this present nomination by Mr. President. My judicial activities, apart from the normal activities of delivering judgment in various cases before me, I'd had the privilege of sitting on quite a number of high-profile cases, especially while I was in the High Court, some of which had put Nigeria on the global map. I decided the case of the Nwude and Federal Republic of Nigeria, which was the biggest advanced free fraud case then in the world, which convicted and refunded the proceeds of crime to the victims in Brazil. I handled several other matters while in the High Court, and as one of the pioneer judges designated in 2003 to handle cases instituted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, most of our pronouncements formed the bedrock of jurisdiction, of legislation, and what we call the jurisprudence in that area of the law today. I also have the privilege of sitting in various areas in the Lagos State Judiciary, and I was the chairman of the committee of experts which put together what we now know as Administration of Criminal Justice Law in the country. The pioneer one was that of Lagos State, which was promulgated in 2007. While also in Lagos State, I served as the chairman of the Probate Reform Committee, which reformed the entire probate section in the Lagos State Judiciary. I was equally a pioneer judge in family court, which also gave me the opportunity of an exchange program at the High Court of England. I've had the privilege of sharing knowledge with judges, judicial officers, not just in Nigeria through the National Judicial Institute, but across the African region through the GIABA, the West African Anti-Money Laundering Organization, and for many years I was a faculty member in the training of judges across the West African sub-region. I also had the privilege of training judges. I've been a faculty member in training of judges in West Africa and East Africa. And through the Financial Action Task Force, I also had the opportunity of facilitating training for judges in northern part of Africa. Through the Commonwealth Secretariat, I had a week-long session of experience sharing and training in handling of money laundering cases with judges in the Caribbean for a whole week. That was in the year 2012. I've attended courses both locally and internationally, facilitated not just by National Judicial Institute, but by the United Nations Organization, the UNODC, the American Secretariat, the American Embassy, and of course, the the EU, which facilitated quite a number of trainings for me locally and internationally. In the Court of Appeal, I've sat on appeals on all parts of this country, and I've presided over appeals in the last few years emanating from all the geopolitical zones in this country. My present position before this nomination was as the presiding justice of the Court of Appeal in Enugu Division. I've also contributed to quite a number of scholarly works, and I've been involved,
sorry that I have to cut in.
Thank you very much.
Chairman, my own is not a question. My name is Senator Adefadaunsi from Osun East. My learned judge, we, from your own side, we are proud of you. Today is a joyful day, and we are happy you are getting to the high level of your career. Seeing people like Professor Banere around you, I know that the sky is the limit. Justice Olubunmi Oyewole, known to be a fearless judge, we call it erudite judge. It's very straightforward and not easy to influence. As old as I am, if they say I'll be charged to Oyewole's court, I will have to go to church to beg God that at least I will see this good side of Justice Oyewole, because he is purely impartial. And most of the difficult and high-profile cases are being advocated and referred to him. And you will see him, he will go through and he will deliver the judgment. Today, we are happy that you are there. Our prayer for you, the people of your state and leaders of your state, is that our own God that has created you to be a straightforward judge knows that you are going to the top. And now that you are on board of Supreme Court, we have that belief that there is hope for common man to get justice in the land. Since you have not been sacking your duties when you were a young judge, intermediate judge, now that you are the Supreme, just follow your mind. May God Almighty be with you and be with your family. Congratulations on behalf of our people. I congratulate you and your family. God bless you.
Our problem is that we have not been telling our own story. So much is already going on that members of the public do not even know. Since the coming on board of my Lord the Chief Justice of Nigeria, I can say emphatically that most of the issues raised have already been taken care of adequately. At the last All Nigeria Judges Conference, issues of conflicting judgments are more within the trial courts and all that was actively taken care of, and my Lord the Chief Justice of Nigeria had put some steps in place which will adequately take care of that, including creating platforms even for heads of court to relate when cases are filed on controversial issues in their jurisdiction, so that others will know about these matters. And various methods have been put in place to ensure that what used to happen, people filing matters in different jurisdictions looking for forum shopping, will be taken care of. And within the court itself, the use of technology, an examination of the Court of our Supreme Court Rules 2024, which has been in place for quite a while now, will already indicate that Senator Salisu's issue had already been taken care of. Quite a number of provisions are already embedded in those rules, which will allow the use of technology, which already, in fact, is so far-reaching that lower courts will only need to take a cue from those rules, and so many things will be in place that will ensure that Nigeria is on the same level with advanced countries in that area. As also the issue of whether the Supreme Court will revert itself in certain cases and what will do. Infallibility only belongs to God. And as Justice Okuta said, the Supreme Court is only fallible because it is final. It is not final because it is infallible. There has to be an end to litigation in whatever form. For football lovers who see them in the Premiership, they thought referees were not doing well. They introduced the video assistant referees. Now every week everybody complains that VAR is destroying football. Because again, there must always be an end. Otherwise, create another court ahead of the Supreme Court, people will still complain. Because to every dispute, there will be a loser and there will be a winner. But hindsight is always 20/20, and for every institution to reinvent itself and place itself on a good pedestal, it must always re-examine, create opportunities to re-examine previous actions, revalidate or improve upon them for the betterment of society. And all Supreme Courts, not limited to Nigeria, actually have systems in place to ensure that in later cases, when the same issues come up, you can examine whether what you did previously was the right thing, or you could have done it better in order to meet the needs of society. It is a question of evolution, and as society evolves, we'll continue to look for ways of adjudicating better to serve the best needs of Nigeria. And I can assure this August Assembly that I will apply myself together with my noble lords already in that court to ensure that at every point in time, the best interest of Nigerian people is served. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my lord. I just have a few comments to make. Let me first please.
Thank you, distinguished colleague members of the committee. Well, I'm here, honestly, in two capacities. I had been privileged to chair this committee in the past, and I know this is always one of our best moments. One day, in one of these large committee rooms, we had to do the screening of 8 GSC nominees. And it was one of the most interesting memories created here. And one of the reasons why I also said, even though a principal officer, I'm happy I'm still being retained as a member of this committee. So the other capacity in which I'm here, doing full disclosure, is for me to be able to say the nominee, Honorable Justice Oyewole, is well and favorably known to me. And of course, I recognize all my lords who are here. I recognize fellow life benchers who are here, especially Dr. Moise Banure, who doubles as a good lawyer and a good politician. It's not always that we have that combined in one person. And members of the Oyewole family who are also here. It's a happy moment, and I've been privileged to serve the government and people of Lagos State in an arm of government, executive arm as Honorable Commissioner, when my Lord Justice Oyewole was first appointed into the judiciary, as a judge of the High Court of Lagos State. And we had the opportunity of watching him, hold on as a judge with a strength of character. And he handled some of the most difficult, or if you like, describe as controversial cases, and he remained untainted. He didn't allow himself to be swayed either by politics or anything other than simply applying the relevant principles to the facts of matters before him. And as chairman of the Senate Committee on Judiciary, I was also privileged to work with him closely, as well as my lord, the PCA, in the Court of Appeal. And they were part of the reforms that we were able to do in the 9th Assembly. This committee inherited a budget of 95 billion naira for the judiciary in 2019. And within a space of 4 years, we did everything possible, working with the leadership of the judiciary, the heads of courts, and critical and radically minded, members, of the judiciary in both the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal especially, to progressively get a better condition of service for the judiciary to further guarantee its independence. So from a budget of 95 billion, we went to 185 billion the following year, and as of the time we're handing over in 2023, we had a budget of over 300 billion naira for the judiciary. Is that to say that we have achieved the best that we know? It's not yet uhuru, because that's a far cry from what the judiciary needs to be able to do its job. But the point I'm trying to make is that we are much better than where we were 6 years ago, and it's a continuous process. And Honorable Justice Oyewole had been part of that reform, and I just want to say to all our colleagues in this committee that we have before us, a man who is not only fit and proper, for the position, but by God's grace, someone who is also, reformatory, in approach, and I know will be a strong addition to the team that we'll have in the Supreme Court. Just in plenary today, the Senate President, His Excellency, Senator Tamboa, and the Chairman, Senate Committee on Judiciary, Senator Adebomire SAN, we were still thinking and talking on the need for us to even have, in addition to the pending bills regarding Court of Appeal and Federal Court, an additional bill, ASAP, that would propose to increase even the number of Supreme Court justices from 21, where we are now, to at least 24. Also ensuring that each of the 6 geopolitical zones of the country, is in a position to, produce equal number of judges. We have qualified people all over the country and in every geopolitical zone, and we want a situation where we'll have more people to handle this job, and then we'll have also geopolitical balancing, in addition to merit. So I just want to say that the job of continuous reforms in different sectors, especially judicial reforms, is on the shoulder of each and every one of us, and it's a privilege for every one of us in this committee to be able to also sit and further, on behalf of the Senate, carry out this assignment. But I call on our distinguished colleagues to ensure that You know, the job is well done as usual, and we'll be waiting for your recommendation in plenary. I thank you so much, distinguished chairman, for the opportunity to have a word. And nominee, I wish you the very best. Thank you so much.
2 words: self-inflicted, conflicting judgments. And these were the things I was going to ask, but let me go further on them. First of all, the conflicting judgments of coordinate courts is very disturbing. Very, very disturbing. And it continues because I don't know where we should begin to look at these situations and then try to punish erring judges. It appears that it doesn't matter how much we shout, it continues, and it's very disturbing. Cases to the Supreme Court, sometimes I wonder why the Supreme Court even accept them, like you said, which is why, again, I'm coming to your word of self-infliction. Because you accept them, and then you create this injury that has piled up your dockets in the Supreme Court. It shouldn't be so at all. And the statistics you gave between the United States and Nigeria is very staggering. I mean, Supreme Court is not a court of original summons. It's the last court. How do we manage to take every case to Supreme Court? Could it also be because to be a senior advocate, you need to have certain cases heard in Supreme Court? Is that why many lawyers rush and take every case to Supreme Court just to have that record? So there are a lot of things that we have to actually consider to make sure that we bring this under control, because it's out of control. And I agree that it's not the number of judges that we appoint to the apex court. It is how we filter these cases that go there. And we have to consider very quickly, especially the electoral cases. Is it all electoral cases that should go to the Supreme Court? Do we need separate court that has to deal with electoral matters? Because on election periods, it appears that the work of the regular cases are put in abeyance so that they can pay attention to electoral matters. Do we have to consider whether or not we should have special courts that deals with electoral matters? Perhaps if we look at all of this in totality, we can begin to address the issue of the workload in the Supreme Court. Thank you very much.
Amen. Yes, Senator Osita Senozo's question is also related to His Excellency Senator Tambuwa's question. How do we tackle the issue of workload in the judiciary, especially at the apex court? My Lord, the CJN at the opening of this new legal year on September 29, in our address, gave the figure that the Supreme Court of Nigeria delivered a total number of 369 judgments for the previous legal year, which on an average was a judgment per day, including weekends. Within the same period, the Supreme Court of the United States of America delivered 67 judgments. But when we now go further to look at the statistics, we will find that of all applications made to United States Supreme Court to be heard, less than 1% of those applications succeed. When we look at our own Supreme Court, and we consider applications for leave to be heard, less than 1% are refused. Which also means that our problems are also a bit self-inflicted. When the High Court has made a pronouncement, the Court of Appeal has affirmed the same pronouncement. Only very, very rare beds should fly at the level of the Supreme Court. And this ties also to when we talk about, oh, there are contradictory judgments, there are conflicting judgments. When you keep on repeating the same thing over and over again, there's a tendency that you make misstatements and whatever. Whereas in some other jurisdictions, the moment the apex court has made a statement of the law, that is the law, and you dare not approach the same court with a case on the same issue. You must justify why your case should come in. So we need not just to focus on number of justices, but also the number, the quality, and the number of matters that should go to that high level if we expect pronouncement that will continue to shape the direction of our law to be qualitative. Because it also speaks to quality. When the numbers are too many, find the Supreme Court working even harder than the high courts. We'll have quality, we have problems of quality. So, as the legislative arm, you will help my distinguished senators in tinkering with the law as regards appeals that should even proceed at all to the apex court. Because even if we have 100 justices and we continue to go at the rate we are going, it will never work because we keep on accumulating arrears upon arrears of so many years, and there's no way that will also help our economic stability as a nation, because investments do not flow to jurisdictions where the law or the system of justice is not predictable, where the system of the law is not moving fast enough. You now find litigants telling you, I'm going to hang your case. All I'll just appeal to the Supreme Court and it will be there for the next 10 years. Nobody will touch it. Even if that person knows that what he's doing has no merit. Again, at the level of the court itself, the court needs to be more stringent on issues of leave to appeal. And I believe the same way that we find ourselves at this level, reality will dawn on us that we also need to start limiting the number of appeals, the number of matters that could get to that level to be heard. And when we do that, I believe the workload will diminish to an extent and the quality of judgments will improve. But I must say that I appreciate the fact that you are thinking about us in looking at what can be done to reduce the workload of the courts. Thank you very much for that. But on our side, we'll continue to also look at ways of making things better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my lord. Please put off your mic.
Okay.
Few minutes ago, some of our colleagues walked in. I would call
the eminent jurist. I took time to peruse through his CV. Wonderful CV, good records, and rich experience. But I want to just pass a comment and just to ask him, sir, that it is a common knowledge that the confidence Nigerians have in the judiciary, being the last hope of common man, is eroding day by day. So I'm a medical doctor by training. I'm not a lawyer. But incidentally, I have small family background of some people who are lawyers from my family. Having said so, sir, they say that, I just like say, judiciary being a common hope for the common man. Supreme Court, where he's going to go if this committee screens him and Senate confirms, what is he going to tell us, sir, that is going to do different to improve the image, the perception of Nigerians, that if they reach apex court, they are going to get justice? Because of, number one, sir, we have had cases where you see an apex court giving contradictory judgments. Some people are talking about contradictory judgment by lower courts, but Supreme Court, for instance, sir, in the case of Wamako against the INEC, where you saw Supreme Court supporting arrest of judgment of Court of Appeal. In the case of Tony Ngoye, myself, and the PDP and INEC, J.B. Daudu San, former president of NBA, wanted to arrest the same judgment 2013. And he quoted the Supreme Court judgment that arrested that of Sokoto some years back. And Supreme Court said, don't go there. But he quoted there, it was their judgment. They allowed arrest of judgment. That means conflicting judgment. Yes, my own, I got justice. They could not arrest the judgment. Supreme Court compared Court of Appeal to read the judgment. But you see, because there was a precedent. Secondly, sir, on the issue of where a Supreme Court will say today that this case constitutes an abuse of court process, sir, we have very senior lawyers here. Senator Tambowa, yourself, Senator Usta Zunaso, Senator Khalid, Senator Udende, and I think I don't know any other lawyer. Sometimes I also say lawyer. And Neda. You see, there are many lawyers here, sir. So, but sir, Senator Peter Dia, sir. So, with due respect, sir. You see, we know, I'm not a lawyer, as I said. I was not even a law student. But I know that Supreme Court always tell you that if there's a case of abuse of court process, that it is the latter that will abuse the former one. That means it is the first in time that prevails, not the latter. But there was a case where Supreme Court of Nigeria, sir, except Roosevelt in 2011, which I was a victim. I was involved. Where the Supreme Court now say that
Lord, you can see that Senator Uwoye is a litigant.
Yes, I was in election petition, in election matter, where Supreme Court said that in a matter where the matter that was filed 6 months earlier was now the one abusing the one that came later, and it was judgment. Justice Mary Odlam and others. They used Roosevelt, disagree with them, but it now became law. I now lost in final court. I won in Federal High Court, Court of Appeal, in Supreme Court. They say they were, but I thought it was the latter that will abuse the former. So, sir, my issue is that, what are you going to tell us? You understand? You understand? It's good that I point this thing, my Lord. No, I'm not coming as litigant. But it's good, sir. What I'm saying is that some of our people, some law profession, sir, is a very noble profession, sir. A lawyer has advantage over any other person. I'm not a lawyer, as I said. My chimboda is. The wife is the Court of Appeal. She's even here with us here. You understand? But they have advantages. Yes. so they have advantage over us. You understand? So, but these young ones, some of them aspire to be lawyers. Not after they have labored to learn to. There's one judgment will come, and tomorrow they will say another thing. So, sir, we want you to assure us that if we screen you and confirm us that you are going to make a change. Thank you, sir.
I think he was 2 years ahead of me then. He was in year 3, I was in year 1. So I've known him since then. And of course, in practice in Lagos, before I decided to cross over to this side in 2023, so I also knew him when he was a judge of the High Court of Lagos State, subsequently a Court of Appeal justice, and now a justice of the Supreme Court.
Amen. Amen.
And I have no hesitation in saying that it's a nomination well-deserved, somewhat delayed, but like I always say, God's time is always the best. So I would like to jump the gun by congratulating you. And that's why I first pleaded guilty. In advance. In congratulating you for joining the bench of the Supreme Court. The only thing I would say, sir, is that for those of us who have known you for upwards of about 40 years, we continue to say that you are a person of integrity and high intellect. And I strongly believe that that was the reason why you were nominated out of 4 people to fill this vacancy from the Southwest. I also have no doubts that you would not relent in your effort to continue to uphold justice. I have listened to my very good friend, Senator Tony Ngoye, And as you will see, a serial litigant. But the beauty of what he says, you know, but the beauty of what he says, or what I take out of it, is that as a non-lawyer, what he's interested in is justice. For we lawyers, we can explain some of these things away. But like I always say, even when you are in private practice, your clientele is your customer base. The customer base of the judiciary is the common man. The moment you are unable to satisfy the common man in a way that they understand without the legal technicalities, then there's a problem. And I think that is what Tony Oyewole was trying to drive at. To say, look, I as a layman, you told me A, I followed A. Now you say it's B. But for me, and I like your response to, in quoting Okuta, I always say, even judges or justices are human. Nobody, and that is why the Supreme Court, being the final court, has the right and authority to reverse itself, knowing fully well that to allow it to fester is to visit hardship on an injustice on people. So I would again congratulate you. I have no questions for you. I have asked all the questions when I was in legal practice. You have refused the questions that I have asked by saying, Mr. Adegomre, you are overruled. I rule against you. Now I'm on this side.
Osita Ezunaso, I represent Imo West. Mr. Chairman, I want to move a motion that having convincingly answered all the questions posed to him by distinguished senators, and also having scrutinized his resume and the process of his nomination, that this committee is convinced that he's eminently qualified to serve on the bench of Nigerian Supreme Court. I so move that we clear him.
Second that motion. Seconded. I'm eager to say so because I also asked the question, but before then I wanted to say, looking at your resume and your personality and all that has been said on your behalf, there's no reason why we cannot support your candidacy. We can only wish you well, and we hope that you uphold these tenets of high level of performance and justice that we can see through in you. Congratulations in advance. So I second that motion. Mr. Chairman, allow me.
A motion has been moved and properly seconded. So I invite, for those who are for it, say aye. Aye. And those who are against, they are not here. They are not here. Okay. Thank you very much, Justice. Thank you very much, Justice Oyewole. You may now take your leave. For the members of my committee, stay behind so that we can have a short closed-door session. So, no. Thank you very much. 3 times. You are now excused.